Over in the pages of Marvel Comics' core X-Men titles, it's been absolutely fascinating to watch the publisher explore some of the fallout of the Fall of X status quo. Really seeing Sync and Talon take up the operation of the underground X-Men has been really thrilling. And we've even seen some old favorites with individuals like Kitty Pryde returning as Shadowcat, alongside some new favorites like Rasputin and Miss Marvel, now realized as an X-Men. My name is Ariko Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and explore the pages of X-Men issue 27 to see if this series can save some of the lost mutants. Before we get deeper into the video, I want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button over on this video. When Cyclops joined this iteration of the X-Men, his pitch was simple: I am the X-Men. If this is so, the enemies of the X-Men seem to have this fight all sewn up. X-Men 27 is written over from Gerry Duggan, featuring art from Phil Noto. We have letters from VC's Clayton Cowles and design from Tom Muller and Bowen. In addition, we also have a cover coming in directly over from Joshua Cassara as well as Guru-eFX. I really like the harrowing way that this issue introduces some of the ways that Cyclops has been tortured over from Orchis in the recent comic books over in X-Men, and I really think that some of Marvel's editorial probably had a lot of fun typing up some of the solicitation text in the issue as well here. I want to quickly extend a big thank you over to Adventures in Poor Taste and explore some of the beautiful artwork over from Phil Noto over in X-Men 27. I really thought this issue kicked off on a really fun note here, as we got to watch Shadowcat operate over in the Orchis base to try and rescue one of her fellow X-Men. The way that this series kind of built up to the reveal of Kitty on the panel with all this sort of narration over on the comic book was really enthralling here. I also love the way that Noto captures Kitty kind of phasing out of this object over in the Orchis facility here. And also the way she phases in the next panel, I think, is incredibly climactic here, leading up to this facial reaction we get, introducing the character of Juggernaut over on the very next page. The way that Juggernaut is illustrated here over with the panel bleed, I think also really dials up some of the intrigue over for this current X-Men issue. Well, I think this sequence is incredibly notable and honestly does a great job in portraying motion. One sort of negative thing I found, not only about this page sequence or the comic book in general, was just how sparse some of the backgrounds can be over in this issue of X-Men. I really love the way that Phil Noto draws some of his faces. I think Phil Noto is great at depicting some of the incredibly subtle emotion over from Gerry Duggan's script, but I would have loved it if some of the backgrounds in the issue had a little bit more visual detail to keep me interested here. Although, as mentioned earlier, I really think some of the themes and greater design over in this sequence match the X-Men title incredibly well. I also really love this next page introducing where we left off over with Cyclops with that really insane kind of sewing or stitching over on his eyes within the storyline. Really think that this caught a really harrowing glimpse at to where Scott has been over in some of the recent X-Men comics. But I also equally appreciate the fact that there's a little bit more headway made over on this plot beat. I think Scott has now been in a position with Orchis for an incredibly long time now, and it's likely time for some big status quo or plot beat to occur. Thankfully, we get some hints of that over in the final scene within the issue. We've talked extensively about the individual known as Rasputin 4, and I was overjoyed that this was finally the issue that served to flesh out some of her backstory, but also her present as a member of the X-Men. Really getting the chance to see other Marvel characters reference the fact that Rasputin is from the future here was really enthralling over to me as a reader. I also think it's really interesting to see just how many powers she has, whether it be phasing through objects, operating a sword on the level of magic, or even having the skin like Colossus. I think she is an incredibly endearing X-Men character. And also, I think the warmer side that she's opened up following Sins of Sinister, with her really embracing Kamala Khan as an X-Men, has lent something a little bit special to the series. I think the team dynamic has been strengthened as well, with Rasputin and Miss Marvel both being core members of the Underground X-Men. This issue also did a really phenomenal job swinging the Fantastic Four characters back into the narrative of the Krakoan Age. I honestly wish that we had a little bit more Fantastic Four material during these Krakoa comic books, but the way that Rasputin is able to kind of operate and respond to characters like Reed Richards and Johnny Storm over in the comic book is really, really enthralling here. I'm always interested in some of these new characters, and I think folding them back into the kind of core Marvel universe and showing how some of the other characters in the Marvel universe react to them is so, so interesting. And I almost wish we got more glimpses of this over in the Krakoa age of Marvel Comics. I really think that Gerry Duggan writes a fantastic Benjamin Grimm, Reed Richards, and Sue Storm here. The scenarios that Gerry Duggan was able to deploy some of the cast in were really, really amazing here. And while I did find that even deep, deep into the issue, some of these panel backgrounds were indeed incredibly sparse, there's still a great sense of emotion, and the way that all the characters react over on the page is incredibly enthralling as well. I did find this issue to be shockingly heartwarming compared to the really dark chapters we've gotten in recent FallofX issues, so I was also incredibly amused to get this final sequence illustrating what Firestar is currently navigating undercover at Orcus. So at the end of the day here, I really think X-Men 27 is yet another phenomenal X-Men issue, introducing so many existing scenarios and just flipping them directly on their head to make things as interesting as possible here. I was honestly so happy to see additional characterization over for Rasputin 4. I think she is a really, really fascinating Marvel Comics character and needs even more plot beats in addition to this issue as well. The way that Gerry Duggan wrote some of the members of the Fantastic Four was also incredibly silly and irreverent. I also really like the gravitas that Reed Richards had over in some of his conversations with Rasputin. While he is still a very nice and endearing individual, it's good to see that he can be really, really firm over when he wants to be. Elsewhere, I do think this opening sequence did a great job exploring some of the core thematic elements over in the X-Men comics, as we got to see Shadowcat help out another one of her fellow X-Men team members. And if that wasn't interesting enough, I think the really silly and irreverent tease for the next issue is setting up a big confrontation that I really don't want to see, but I'm also really, really excited for over in future comic book titles. The way that Gerry Duggan has been having fun in implementing comedic elements in these dark X-Men series has been really, really enticing and has really made this core X-Men run really, really special for me. I do think artist Phil Noto was able to capture some of the comedy and strange elements over in Duggan's scripts really, really nicely here. I want to know from you, did you enjoy this chapter of X-Men as much as I did? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for coming to check out our video review over on X-Men 27, and we'll be back to talk Marvel Comics in the near future. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.